is best fitted for an award of Hollywood star.
Why though?
He's a perfect Hollywood star because he knows how to stage manage things. He knows how to play his skits very well. And he knows how to move emotions. He's best suited for Hollywood more than the State House. They have no hope, they have no confidence in him. And they are saying, come 2027, he's a one-term president. Hakuna tano tena. That's what they are saying. It's not me. Remember, during the campaigns, he came out as a Mr. Fix-It. And he was coming to fix the economy. He spoke about state capture. He spoke about agriculture. But when you check out on the scorecard, you find that there is basically no scores for this Kenya Kwanza regime. It's 0 out of 0.
And you're just in time for Siasa Brigade, your go-to point on matters politics and governance here in Kenya and across East Africa. And at times, we actually cover global news in the world of politics. My name is Richard Mwanjo. Always a pleasure to have you on board on this particular edition whereby we are unpacking the State of the Nation address. That is the 2023 State of the Nation address by President William Ruto. And who better to help me unpack that particular address than Firebrand, Advocate of the High Court of Kenya, and Gichugu's biggest export, Ndego Njiru. So long, my brother. 2 weeks without seeing you on board.
Yeah, been quite long, but we've been keeping well. The rains have come. And of course, we seem to be having two meteorological departments in this country. There are those who predicted there will be El Nino, and there is those who predicted there will be no El Nino. And as usual, I've always said that this guy is a wise acre. He knows too much. Is he even able to predict that this is not El Nino? You see,
but he's a good chosen president. That's what he touts himself as.
Well, he seems to be possessed with the extraordinary ability to do all what he thinks he can, including where he's not a specialist. But being a person who has dealt with zoology, I can grant him and I can grant unto him the benefit of doubt that he's able to predict the rains, the intensity of it, the gravity of it, and whether it is El Nino or not.
Are you somewhat trying to profile the president as a jack of all trades and perhaps a master of none?
I have not profiled him. He has profiled himself. He basically submits on anything, even when he is not aware of what he is saying. He will submit on law, he will submit on mathematics, he will submit on zoology, he will submit on climate. He basically wants to present himself as the wisest man and the best thing to happen in Kenya after the sliced bread.
Let's then begin our conversation from that particular standpoint.
Yes.
And talking matters the State of the Nation address. Are you then saying that the President William Ruto somewhat cannot be trusted to paint the true picture of this country if the State of the Nation address 2023 is anything to go by?
Yes, certainly, because he has come out as a master, as a jack of all trades and a master of none. And he has not convinced or persuaded us that he really understands what is happening in this country. He has not persuaded us that he's really in control of this country. Remember, during the campaigns, he came out as a Mr. Fix-It, and he was coming to fix the economy. He spoke about state capture. He spoke about agriculture. But when you check out on the scorecard, you find that there is basically no scores for this Kenya Kwanza regime. It's 0 out of 0. So, and of course, you could even tell yesterday with the climax of what went down as one of the most miserable State of the Nation address and the most embarrassing one ever to have happened in this Kenya.
A minute. Are you saying from an optic it was somewhat an underwhelming State of the Nation address?
Other than the optics and other than the usual PR, nothing went on record. Nothing substantial went on record.
Nothing substantial?
Nothing substantial.
Even the reassuring tone of the president talking of about tumepanga, tumeweka.
Well, you remember this is not the first time he has started kupanga, na kutenga, na kufanya.
Mikakati meko.
He's a guy of kupanga. He has been kupangaing every time, even when he was the deputy president. And remember, he had indicated during the campaign that had it not been for him, President Kenyatta would not have achieved anything.
True.
Of course, he associated the construction of the SGR to himself. He allocated unto himself all the development President Kenyatta had done unto himself.
Last mile connectivity.
You know, the last mile connectivity, it was because of William Ruto. But then we are asking, okay, this good William Ruto, this very diligent worker, this very hardworking man, what has he now done? Why is he not working when he's actually the president? There are no roads being constructed in this country. There are not even kiosks being constructed in this country. Hata ile ya Mama Mboga, there's nothing. You see, we were told, oh, 1,000 dams will be constructed in 100 days. Zero. So basically, he has basically done nothing.
But then again, he has a sort of obligation to profile a sense of hope before the electorate and before the citizens.
People are tired of these hopes. People are not eating hopes. Hopes is not paying the school fees for our children. Hope is not paying our electricity bills. Hope is not paying the rising cost of fuel. Hope is not paying for us the hospital bills. Hope is not buying unga for us. Hope is not expanding the economy. Hope is not bringing the dollar down. You see, hope is not instilling confidence in the stock exchange. You know, so we can't just keep on speaking about hope, hope, hope. Yeah, you know, when he keeps on speaking about hope and there is zero delivery, zero impact, people are losing hope, and that is why some of us are even saying it's a high time that we even pull down his portrait.
We are going to come to that in our next edition because we're going to focus on his political future. But let me ask you, we saw majority of Kenyans call for Raila Odinga to lead a parallel State of the Nation address.
Yes.
And from where you sit as your footnote, Ndegwa Njiru, do you consider that maybe Raila Odinga will have done any better than Ruto?
Yes, there is not even a comparison.
Really?
Why Raila Odinga would have done better than William Ruto is because Raila Odinga would have given some breath and sigh of relief to international friends, because he would have given them confidence. You see, why does an economy begin to fail? The economy begins to fail when people have no confidence with the regime in power. How did Ruto lose his confidence? How did Ruto lose confidence with investors? He lost confidence when he hired people who are incompetent into government high-profile jobs, like those of the cabinet secretaries. When you hire somebody who has a murder case, when you hire somebody who is corrupt and who has a corruption case, and you cause the withdrawal of that case so that then he can become competent for hire and available for hire.
Acquittals.
What you are telling the international world, and what you're even telling Kenyans, is that you'll not have the prowess and the vigor and the gravitas to fight with corruption. So investors will know, okay, if I go and invest in Kenya and my money is stolen, or the investment goes south, I have no place to get recourse to. I have no place for redress. When he goes and tells investors in the name of, with high profile like Rai, that mambo ni matatu, you either go to heaven, you either uhame Kenya, or you go to jail, and you are told you must withdraw your cases. What is happening is that you're eroding investors' confidence. Why? Because people know that if I go to Kenya, invest in the Republic of Kenya, and perhaps my investment, I get into a dispute about this investment, institutions that have been created by the Constitution to address those issues will not be granted an opportunity because of the political expediency.
True.
So that is what you're telling the investors. So nobody is coming. That is why the dollar is collapsing. The shilling is collapsing. That's why the stock exchange market has collapsed. Forex has completely collapsed. Investors are now leaving this country for Tanzania and Uganda, other investment destinations. That is, even Kenyans investors themselves are leaving, and that's why the country is in this is in shambles.
So, Njiru,
and all what I can simply say is that the country has been run bankrupt, and people should be waiting for auction of this country anytime.
Are you somewhat taking the blame squarely at the doorstep of the President Ruto when it comes to now the mass exodus from the Nairobi Securities Exchange?
Yes.
The capital flight we are seeing to other destinations like Uganda and Tanzania?
Yes, because even the individuals who have been given, for example, the chairperson of KRA, or the chairperson of, I think the investors board, all these guys had cases in courts. You know? And these are the guys that you are now, I even think the CBK chairperson had issues. And these are the guys that you are now saying that they should become, to lead the rejuvenation of the economy. How? The blame lies squarely at the doorstep of Mr. William Ruto.
Very well then.
Yes.
Moving on swiftly, Ndegwa. Some time back, about a year and a half ago, we saw former President Uhuru Kenyatta come forth and warn Kenyans against voting in President Ruto. Would you say that somewhat Uhuru had looked into the future with some sort of thoroughness and forethought that he knew very well Kenya is going to go to the dogs should he take power?
President Uhuru Kenyatta was God sent. His words were prophetic. He had seen, he had worked with this man, he had known him. Remember, it is because of William Ruto, it's because of President Kenyatta that William Ruto is now president.
Sure.
You know, so there is nobody who was better placed to understand Mr. William Ruto than His Excellency former President Uhuru Kenyatta.
Sure.
And so we never took cautions of the advice we were given. Lakini saizi Kenyans wanalia. They are saying in Kikuyu ni kwanyi tanire. That means ni kumeshikana. In fact, they are saying kumawadhie ni kwanyi tanire. Tangu wende kulishikana.
So what do you think runs in the mind of those who said we're going to vote for Ruto to punish Uhuru Kenyatta?
Oh my goodness. People have completely changed.
Really?
You have seen what happened. Today, if you go to Central Province, all the 10 counties, his popularity has declined. I was in a funeral yesterday somewhere in Kirinyaga, and people said bad things about these guys. They have no hope, they have no confidence in him. And they are saying, come 2027, he's a one-term president. Hakuna tano tena. That's what they are saying. It's not me.
A historic one-term president?
Yes.
It could happen in Kenya?
He is going to be Trump-nized. The way Trump went, we are going to have a second Trump here.
A man who's always enjoyed crowd pulling charm.
Yes, but we have seen it now. We have seen it in Dagoretti when he was at Dagoretti. The crowd is not excited anymore. We have seen it in Mombasa when he tried to address the crowd with all the charms. He's told, tunataka maneno ya mafuta, ongea stories za mafuta. And people have lost confidence in him. Whenever he speaks, watu wanasema uongo. Whenever he speaks, watu wanasema uongo. In fact, nimeona sasa hata amepewa jina ingine anaitwa Kaunda Muongo. Kaunda Muongo.
Really? The president Kaunda Uongo man?
Kaunda Uongo man. I've seen. I'm not the one who crafted that terminology or that description or that. I'm not the one who crafted it. It was crafted by Kenyans who listened to him.
But somewhat maybe Kenyans expect...
Kaunda Uongo man.
Kaunda Uongo man?
Yes.
But maybe the Kenyans are mistaken because if you look at the State of the Nation address yesterday, the president even, we saw played recorded video calls speaking directly to Kenyans on ground, Harrison Kenga, Abdullahi Masood in Garissa, and he is in touch with the true reality on the ground. Don't you think this is a proactive president who is actually going direct to the people instead of waiting for boardroom briefs?
Let me tell you, William Ruto, is best fitted for an award of Hollywood star.
Why though?
He's a perfect Hollywood star because he knows how to stage manage things. He knows how to play his skits very well. And he knows how to move emotions. He's best suited for Hollywood more than the State House.
You mean the president can reduce himself to faking calls with Mamboga in Bungoma?
No, I don't mind whether it was faked or it was not faked. But whatever he told us does not make sense. For example, the case of Karisa Maitha. He said, he called Harrison Karisa Maitha, who is a tuk-tuk operator in Mombasa. And he said he had a conversation with him that Karisa told him that he borrowed from the Hustlers funds 714,000
Kenya shillings.
So why was Karisa's conversation exciting to Mr. William Ruto? It was exciting because Karisa told him that, Mr. President, I want you to now start considering whether we can have asset financing in the Hustlers funds. Why? Because Karisa says he now wants to buy his he wants asset financing so that he can buy his tuk-tuk.
What? Around how much?
Worth about 300,000 or 400,000.
Yet he already has 700.
And this is somebody who has already borrowed 714.
Come on.
Does it make sense? Even to a fool. It doesn't make sense. Even to small boys, it can't make sense The question is, if he was able to access 714,000 without a security or a collateral for it, why does he need collateral to access 400,000 or 300,000 to buy a tuk-tuk? And perhaps you'll even buy a second-hand one, which is about 150,000. Why does it need asset financing? Listen, he told us yesterday that there's a guy, I don't remember his name, but he said he's the highest borrower who has borrowed 4.5 million from the Hustlers funds. Remember, this guy who is the highest borrower, 4.5 million, has no collateral for his loan from the Hustlers funds. Yet Garissa needs asset financing to charge the perhaps chattel mortgaging so that he can access a border worth 300,000. Does this thing make sense? Then he tells us that the highest saver has saved about 631,491 shillings. That's what he said yesterday. This highest saver, and remember the principle and the concept is borrow, save, then you receive.
Sure.
So it's a continuous process. Once you borrow, they immediately reduce your savings. So whatever you are given from your borrowing is less the savings, right?
True.
So this guy who is the highest borrower, ordinarily and logically, he should have been the highest
automatically qualifies to be the highest saver.
It should have the person who has been saved the highest amount.
Credit score.
We should not be having two parallel persons. This one has saved more than the person who has borrowed more, because the more you borrow, the more you save, the more you become credit worthy. So how comes that another person who has now who has not borrowed as much as the one for 4.5 has saved 631?
So from where
hiyo ile story wanaita ile kitu wanaita stories za jaba.
Stories za jaba. A failed sort of a public relations stint. Very well then. But sir, as we conclude the show, let me ask you this. If you're going to look at the State of the Nation address, and there are more to come in the near future, even if you look at the mood in Parliament yesterday, do you think it's going to get to a time where even those in Kenya Kwanza won't sit down and let the president speak something that they don't resonate with? Is that time going to come in the near future?
It will not come, because our Parliament has been captured by the executive. And it's a very toxic situation that the country finds itself in. And it's a very serious constitutional crisis that we are in. Why? Because the executive is represented in Parliament by the Speaker and the Leader of Majority. So it has two representatives. The arbiter, who is the Speaker, is part and parcel of the executive because he's in a coalition with Kenya coalition, and he's a principal in that coalition. Then he goes and sits in Parliament. What happens is that he loses his objectivity and his impartiality to guide Parliament, because he's part and parcel of the executive. That is why debates in Parliament have degenerated. That is why there is no quality debate in Parliament. There is nobody who can question the executive. They have completely mutilated the ability to offer oversight to the executive. So this Parliament is, and Makiu, William made sure that he has such kind of a moribund Parliament so that nobody questions him. This is a praise and worship Parliament.
Praise and worship?
Yes. It's a praise and worship Parliament. They are there to worship William Ruto.
Even those who are saying they are surprised by the miraculous development record of the president, that is still praise and worship.
It's serious praise and worship. And I said the last time, I think that borders between mediocrity, sycophancy, and the inability to comprehend his own self.
Well, there you have it from Ndegwa Njiru saying the parliament of today here in Kenya is nothing short of a praise and worship team. Well, that has been his nuggets of wisdom on how better we can forge ahead as a country, and he's helped us unpack the State of the Nation address and where President William Ruto needs to look at and turn around his strategy of governance of the nation. That has been our conversation. Thank you so much for tuning in. We wait to see you on our next edition of Siasa Brigade. I'm yours truly, Richard Mwanjo. Thank you for tuning in.